Royal Love Story. How Princess Leonor and Prince Christian met and fell in love. Imagine two worlds divided by borders, traditions, and centuries of royal duty. A young princess in Spain, born into the weight of a crown, trained from childhood to be a future queen. And a young prince in Denmark, raised under the Nordic skies, with his own royal destiny etched before him. Their paths were never supposed to cross, or so everyone thought. But here's the twist. They did cross. Not in some orchestrated royal alliance or diplomatic necessity, but in the most unexpected way, through a simple moment of human connection that defied protocol. And that is where the true story begins. Because while the world saw them as heirs to nations, what they found in each other was not politics, not duty, but love. A love so genuine it threatens to rewrite royal history itself. So, how did Spain's future queen and Denmark's future king meet? And how did their bond grow strong enough to defy centuries of expectation? Stay with me, because every answer reveals another layer of a story so powerful, it almost feels like destiny itself was conspiring to bring them together. The tale begins years ago, when Princess Leonor was still a cadet at Spain's military academy. She was young, disciplined, and fiercely determined to live up to the legacy of her father, King Felipe. Few people realized how lonely that journey was. Behind the polished smiles, Leonor carried the quiet burden of being Europe's only female heir apparent of her generation. And while the world saw strength, inside, she longed for something more personal, a connection that went beyond duty. Now let's shift to Denmark. Prince Christian, the firstborn of Crown Prince Frederik and Crown Princess Mary, was growing into his own role. Tall, charming, with the easy charisma of his mother and the quiet sense of responsibility of his father, Christian was often described as the boy born to be king. Yet beneath the titles and ceremonies, he too wrestled with expectations. Denmark's monarchy is small, but its traditions are ironclad. He knew that one day, his every step would be scrutinized. So how do two people, living parallel lives in different kingdoms, worlds apart, ever find each other? The answer lies in a royal gathering, one of those glittering, diplomatic events that most of us only ever see in photographs. A meeting of Europe's royal families, where the air was thick with protocol, speeches, and history. But what nobody could have predicted was that amid the sea of handshakes and formalities, two young heirs would lock eyes across the room. It wasn't dramatic, at least not to anyone else. But to Leonor and Christian, that single moment was electric. Imagine the weight of centuries melting away, if only for a heartbeat. Leonor later described it, in whispers to her closest friends, as the first time she truly felt seen, not as a princess, not as an heir, but as herself. And Christian, when asked, once admitted with a smile that he had never met anyone who combined strength and vulnerability the way Leonor did. But was it really love at first sight? Or was it destiny, carefully weaving its threads through generations of royal ties? That's the curiosity, and the story doesn't end there. Because after that first encounter, fate seemed determined to pull them together again. Months later, at another gathering, this time more private, away from the cameras, they found themselves in conversation. And this time, it wasn't about speeches or ceremonies. They talked about music, about books, about what it means to grow up with your future already decided for you. What started as a polite exchange quickly became something deeper, recognition. They were different, yes, but they understood each other in a way nobody else could. This is where the love story truly began to take root. Behind palace walls, their friendship blossomed into something unspoken yet undeniable. Every message exchanged, every stolen glance, every quiet word became a thread in a tapestry neither of them could ignore. And yet, royal love stories are never simple. As their bond grew, whispers began to spread. Advisors and courtiers on both sides raised their eyebrows. Spain and Denmark may share warm ties, but the thought of two heirs uniting. That was something else entirely. Would their relationship be seen as a blessing, uniting two monarchies? Or a risk, stirring political complexities no one had prepared for? But Leonor and Christian didn't see politics. They saw each other. When Leonor confided in Christian about the pressure she felt during her military training, he listened not as a prince, but as a friend who understood. And when Christian shared his fears about never being able to live a normal life, Leonor responded with the same warmth: maybe normal isn't what we're meant for. Maybe we're meant for something greater. The more they spoke, the more they realized, love, in their world, was more than romance. It was rebellion. Their story unfolded quietly at first. Letters and calls hidden behind official schedules. Subtle glances at public events. The press, ever watchful, began to speculate. Are they just friends? Could this be the beginning of a royal alliance? But no one outside their inner circle truly knew. And that secrecy gave their relationship space to grow. Leonor once admitted to a close confidant that what she admired most about Christian wasn't his charm or his title, but his ability to make her laugh even when the weight of the world was on her shoulders. Christian, in turn, described Leonor as the strongest person I've ever met, yet the gentlest at the same time. Still, the challenges loomed. Both of them knew that one day, they would have to choose love or duty. But here's the beautiful contradiction: they discovered that perhaps, in choosing each other, they could fulfill both. Imagine the symbolism. Spain's first reigning queen in centuries, standing beside Denmark's future king. A love story that was not just about two people, but about the future of Europe's monarchies themselves. And so, what began as a fleeting glance across a crowded room became a partnership built on trust, empathy, and courage. Their journey wasn't easy. It was filled with questions, doubts, and resistance. But each obstacle only deepened their resolve. Today, when the world speaks of Princess Leonor and Prince Christian, it isn't just about royal lineage. It's about the reminder that even within the strictest traditions, love has the power to rewrite the story. Because in the end, the world doesn't remember crowns and ceremonies as much as it remembers love stories. And Leonor and Christian's is one of the greatest of their generation. A princess, a prince, two nations, one destiny, and above all, a love that began not with politics, not with duty, but with a single, unforgettable moment where two young hearts recognized each other against all odds. This is not just a royal story. This is the human story of Leonor and Christian, the future queen and the future king, who dared to fall in love.